The last of the wine gleams under the restaurant's low light, a bloody ruby swirled in the bottom of my glass. Across the table, my brother's laugh is too loud, a performance for the waitstaff he believes is admiring him. My mother's hand rests on the white linen, her fingers tapping a silent, expectant rhythm. I watch them from my seat, the seat by the door, the one that gets the draft, the one I have occupied for every family celebration for the last decade. Outside this window, the city of London is a blur of wet pavement and taillights, and here in this expensive cocoon, the bill is about to land. They don't look at me. They don't have to. They know I'm already reaching for my bag. If you're watching this from somewhere late at night, maybe feeling that familiar knot in your stomach after a family gathering, leave a comment below and tell me where you're tuning in from. It's just past midnight here, and this story has been waiting to be told. Subscribe to this channel for more stories about finding your voice in the silence. My name is Alara. I am 32 years old, and until 3 months ago, I was the family bank. The silent, reliable, interest-free institution that funded my family's illusion of affluence. On paper, we are charming. My father, Robert, a retired history teacher with a fondness for quoting Shakespeare at inappropriate moments. My mother, Celia, the gracious hostess, the keeper of appearances, whose smile could frost glass. My older brother, Sebastian, the golden child, whose series of almost there business ventures were discussed with the reverence of actual success. And then me, Alara, the grounded one, the sensible daughter, the one who never caused any trouble. They never said the word doormat. They didn't need to. They simply walked across me, and I made sure the surface was smooth. It began, as these things often do, with something small. I was 24, freshly promoted to a junior analyst position at a firm whose name I deliberately mumbled. Sebastian had temporarily lost his job. The mortgage on my parents' unnecessarily large house, a trophy from my father's brief, lucky inheritance, was due. Just a bridge loan, darling, my mother had said, her hand cool on mine. You're so good with your money. Sebastian is in such a state. The sum was manageable. The gratitude was profuse. The repayment was never mentioned again. That was the first brick in my cage. The loans became routine. So did the dinners. They were never planned with me. I was summoned. A text would ping on my phone, usually as I was shutting down my computer after a 10-hour day. The Oak Room. 8 p.m. We're already seated. No, are you free? No, would you like to? Just coordinates. I would arrive, flustered and always a little underdressed compared to Celia's meticulous elegance, to find them mid-starter, glasses charged. There she is, my father would boom, as if my tardiness was a delightful quirk. We ordered the scallops for you. We know you love them. I didn't. Sebastian loved them. But I would smile and eat them, the sweet flesh tasting like obligation. The conversation would swirl around Sebastian's latest scheme, a boutique whiskey importation, a tech startup that was pre-revenue, a property development that was pending planning. My father would listen enraptured. My mother would beam, cutting his meat for him as if his genius was too consuming for such mundane tasks. My success, my actual, hard-earned career in private equity, was met with a polite, glazed smile. That sounds complicated, Celia would say. Isn't it stressful, all those numbers? You always were such a hard worker. It was a dismissal, wrapped in faux concern. Letting them believe I was a modestly paid paper pusher was easier than shattering their narrative. Their narrative required a supporter, not a star. I met Leo 2 years ago. He was a sculptor, all quiet intensity and calloused hands, who saw the tension in my shoulders before he knew my name. On our third date, my phone buzzed with a dinner summons. He watched my face fall. You don't want to go, he stated. It wasn't a question. I went, of course. I paid, of course. When I returned to his studio, smelling of expensive wine and resentment, he was waiting with a mug of terrible, strong tea. He didn't tell me to stop. He just asked, what did it cost tonight? And for the first time, I started to tell him. Not just the monetary figure, but the cost in dignity, in energy, in the slow erosion of myself. Leo became my archivist. He encouraged me to keep a record. Not a diary of feelings, but a ledger. A cold, hard spreadsheet. I named it Household Expenses and buried it deep in my cloud drive. Every loan, every dinner bill, every time I covered the utilities, the gardener, the little holiday to cheer Dad up, the investment in Sebastian's latest folly, I logged it. Dates, amounts, the flimsy justifications. I detached myself emotionally and treated it like a client account. The numbers were staggering. Over 8 years, it was enough for a substantial deposit on a beautiful house. Or several luxury cars. Or freedom. The catalyst was my birthday. My 32nd. They took me to a new restaurant, all exposed brick and jarringly loud music. Sebastian brought his new girlfriend, a willowy woman who spoke exclusively in whispers. The meal was a parade of sharing plates I didn't choose. My father gave a rambling toast about my constant support, calling me the family's anchor. The word made me feel like I was drowning. When the sleek black folder arrived, Celia gave a little laugh and nudged it toward me with a perfectly manicured finger. The birthday girl gets the honor, she trilled. Sebastian was already on his phone, booking an Uber. I looked at Leo, who was there under the guise of my friend, his jaw tight. I paid. The sum made my stomach turn. That night, in the sanctuary of our apartment, Leo didn't make tea. He opened my laptop, opened the ledger, and added the final entry. The total glowed on the screen, a damning, undeniable fact. "What are you going to do, Alara?" he asked, his voice soft. I stared at the number. It wasn't anger I felt. It was a profound, chilling clarity. They didn't love me, they loved my functionality. My compliance was the foundation of their comfort. To disrupt it wasn't an act of rebellion, it was an act of self-demolition. But I was tired of being the scaffolding for their fragile egos. "I'm going to give them one last bill," I said, my voice strange in my own ears. The plan wasn't about screaming or confrontation. That would only let them frame me as hysterical, unreasonable. I needed the system to break in a way they could not blame on emotion. I needed the cold, hard facts to speak for me. I quietly severed the automated payments I'd set up for their various expenses. I let my phone go to voicemail during the day. When my mother called, flustered, saying the gardener hadn't been paid, I replied with gentle confusion. "Oh, I thought Sebastian was handling that now?" He mentioned wanting to take on more responsibility. I could hear the silence on the other end, a void where my immediate compliance should have been. A month later, the summons came. Le Jardin. 8 p.m. Dad's feeling celebratory. Le Jardin was the pinnacle, a place where the menu was a whispered recitation and the prices were a state secret. I knew what was being celebrated. Sebastian had finally sold a piece of his non-existent whiskey business to a silent partner, almost certainly a story. This dinner would be the grand coronation, and I was to be the funder. I dressed carefully that night. Not in my usual rushed workwear, but in a simple, severe black dress that cost more than any of Sebastian's investments. I looked like success. I felt like a reckoning. I arrived precisely at 8. They were at our usual table, a nest of warmth and noise in the hushed room. Sebastian was holding court, explaining cask strength to his bored-looking girlfriend. My father was beaming. My mother saw me first, and her eyes flicked over my dress, a slight frown marring her brow before the hostess' smile snapped back into place. "Alara, you look serious," she said, air-kissing my cheek. "I feel clear," I replied, taking my seat by the door. The meal was a grotesque parody of every dinner before. Oysters, truffle, champagne poured like water. Sebastian ordered a bottle of Burgundy that cost as much as my first car. They toasted his acuity. They toasted family. They toasted the future. My glass remained full. I ate little, watching them, memorizing the choreography of their entitlement. My mother's relieved sigh when the sommelier poured. My father's expansive gestures growing wider with each glass. Sebastian's condescending explanation of the wine's terroir to the patient server. No one asked about my work. No one asked about Leo. I was set dressing. As the cheese course was cleared, my mother leaned toward me, her voice a confidential murmur. "Darling, Sebastian's closing the deal next week. We were thinking a little trip to Scotland for him to see the distillery." A sort of investment in the investment. She chuckled at her own wit. You can arrange the flights, can't you? You're so clever with those reward points. I sipped my water. What's the budget? She waved a hand. Oh, something comfortable. You know what he likes. I did know. Business class. 5-star hotels. I'll see what I can do, I said, my tone neutral. The relief around the table was palpable. The deal was done. Old Alara was back on duty. Sebastian grinned at me, a lazy, patronizing smile. Knew I could count on you, sis. You're a rock. The word was a trigger. A rock. Immobile. Unfeeling. Something to build upon and ignore. The dessert plates were cleared. The ritual moment approached. The maitre d' glided over with the leather folio, his eyes subtly scanning the table. For years, his eyes had landed on me. Tonight, he hesitated, uncertain. My mother gave a tiny, almost imperceptible nod in my direction. He placed the folder directly in front of me. Silence descended. Not a comfortable silence. A waiting silence. The air grew thick. My father leaned back, patting his stomach. Sebastian scrolled on his phone. My mother looked at me, her expression a masterpiece of passive expectation. I looked at the folder. I did not touch it. A full minute passed. The silence curdled. My father cleared his throat. My mother's smile grew strained. Alara, she prompted sweetly. I looked up, meeting her eyes. Then I turned and caught the eye of the maitre d', who lingered nearby. I raised my hand, just slightly. He was at my side in an instant. Madam, could you please bring the manager? I asked, my voice calm, clear, carrying in the hushed room. The table froze. Sebastian's head snapped up. What? Why? A query about the billing, I said to the maitre d', ignoring my brother. The manager, a woman in a sharp suit named Antonia, arrived swiftly. Is everything to your satisfaction, madam? I stood up, smoothing my dress. Could we speak privately for just a moment? It's regarding the account linked to this table. Confusion, then a flicker of irritation, crossed my mother's face. Alara, for heaven's sake, just handle it. I followed Antonia a few discreet steps away, just enough to be out of earshot, but still in their line of sight. I spoke quietly, deliberately. My name is Alara Vance. I believe my credit card was on file for this table for automatic settlement. I need to confirm that authorization has been permanently removed from your system. Antonia's professionalism didn't falter. She pulled out a tablet, typed swiftly. She looked up, her expression politely neutral. I can confirm that, Ms. Vance. There is no active card on file for this party. Thank you, I said, my voice steady. Then the bill will need to be settled freshly tonight. And we will require separate checks. One for myself and one for the rest of the party. A slight widening of her eyes was her only reaction. Of course. I will have that prepared. I walked back to the table. 4 pairs of eyes were locked on me, wide with dawning disbelief. What is going on? My father demanded, his joviality gone. The manager returned, placing 2 leather folios on the table. One slim in front of me. One noticeably thicker in the center. Your checks, as requested, Antonia said, and melted away. The silence was absolute. Then it shattered. Separate checks? Celia hissed, the word vile on her tongue. Her face was white. Alara, what is this? This is me paying for my meal, I said, opening my slim folder. And that, I nodded to the thick one, is for yours and Sebastian's and his guests' wine, champagne, and whiskey. Sebastian barked a laugh. This is a joke. Very funny. Just pay it, Alara. I looked at him, truly looked at him, seeing not my brother, but a stranger grown fat on my labor. It's not a joke, Sebastian. The total is £2,347. I suggest you all figure out how you're going to cover it. My father spluttered. 2,000? Don't be absurd. Just use your card and we'll sort it out later. There is no later, I said, my voice like ice. That's what this is. The end of later. I took my card from my clutch and placed it on my own folio. Panic, pure and undiluted, flooded their faces. It was the most honest expression I had ever seen from them. My mother fumbled in her purse, her hands trembling. I don't have my main card. I thought. I know what you thought, I said softly. Sebastian was frantically tapping his phone, his face pale. This is embarrassing. You're embarrassing us. You were never embarrassed when I paid, I replied. You were relieved. There's a difference. My father was trying to catch the eye of the manager, to summon authority he did not possess. Young lady, there must be some mistake. We have an arrangement. Antonia returned, polite and implacable. The cards, sir. It was a slow-motion car crash. My mother produced a card with a low limit. It was declined. Sebastian's was declined. His girlfriend murmured about the ladies' room and never returned. My father, red-faced and humiliated, finally put down a card that worked, his hand shaking. The transaction seemed to take forever. I signed my receipt for my 89-pound salad and mineral water, stood, and collected my coat. My mother stood too, her eyes blazing with a fury born of terror. You are a cruel, selfish girl. After everything we've done for you. We raised you. I turned at the door, the chill of the night air at my back. You didn't raise me, I said, my final words to them that night. You financed yourselves through me. The loan is now called in. I walked out into the cool, clean night, and I did not look back. The fallout was a symphony of indignation. The texts came in waves. How could you? From my father. You've destroyed your brother. From my mother. You'll regret this, you bitch, from Sebastian. I blocked none of them. I let them accumulate in a digital shrine to my liberation. I did not respond. A week later, a formal letter arrived at my office, sent by my father. It outlined, in staggering detail, the debts of gratitude I owed, the emotional costs they had incurred. It was a masterpiece of manipulation. I had my solicitor draft a reply. Enclosed was a copy of my ledger, beautifully formatted, every line item highlighted. A cover letter stated simply, in the interest of clarity, please find a full accounting of the financial support provided by Alara Vance to the Vance family from date to date. This matter is now considered closed. We sent it recorded delivery. The silence that followed was different. It wasn't the waiting silence of the restaurant. It was a void, a nuclear winter. I heard through the distant grapevine of a family friend that things were difficult. The gardener was let go. The holiday was canceled. Sebastian's silent partner vanished. My parents were downsizing. The world, it seemed, did not end for me. It simply righted itself. Leo and I took a trip to the Scottish Highlands. We stayed in a cozy modest inn. I paid for it with money that felt truly, completely mine. One afternoon, watching the rain mist over a loch, I felt a pang. Not guilt. Grief. Grief for the family I never had, for the love that was always conditional. Leo held my hand and didn't offer empty platitudes. He just let me feel it. Months later, on a Sunday morning, my personal email chimed. It was from Sebastian. The subject line was, "Need to talk." The body of the email was uncharacteristically stripped of bluster. It said he was sorry for the things he'd said. That he was working a normal job. That he was, for the first time, seeing things clearly. He didn't ask for money. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He just said he understood why I did what I did. I stared at it for a long time. Then I closed the laptop. I wasn't ready to answer. The peace I had found was still new, still fragile. But for the first time, the door didn't feel welded shut. It was simply closed, and the lock was on my side. Justice wasn't a dramatic courtroom scene or a public shaming. It was the quiet, irrevocable sound of a system powering down for good. It was the sound of my own breath, steady and unburdened, in the silence I had claimed for myself. The revenge was not in their hardship, but in my profound, unshakable peace. I had finally reclaimed the most valuable thing they had ever taken from me, my own life, to spend as I chose. If you've ever been the reliable one, the fixer, the quiet bank of last resort, know this. Your patience is not a virtue when it's exploited. Your strength is not a resource for others to mine. Setting a boundary is not an act of war. It's an act of self-respect. And sometimes, the most powerful revenge is simply walking away, building a life so full of your own light that the shadows they cast can no longer touch you. Share your story in the comments below if this resonated. Don't forget to subscribe for more journeys from silence to strength.